Hello and welcome back to the Let's Talk About It podcast. This is going to be episode 4 of the show, and today's episode is going to be centered around caring too much about the wrong things. And today's going to be a little bit of a weird episode in the sense that, judging off the title, it's just going to be a culmination of different things that people care about that I would argue are completely unnecessary, and I'll try and dive into why we care about those things in the first place. But yeah, it would just be a mix of ideas, a kind of stew pot of different things that can ultimately lead somebody to care about things that are out of their control, and essentially putting too much time and energy into something that isn't so necessary. And I just want to shout out the main cause of inspiration for this podcast actually happening. Danette, if you're listening, thank you for the idea. Just for some context, she messaged me over the weekend saying, can you talk about what happened during the Oscars with Will Smith and Chris Rock? And to me, instead of directly addressing the situation and doing a whole 30-minute episode on my thoughts and opinions of what happened, I decided to kind of flip it on its head. And I wanted to take a different approach to what people were already talking about on social media. So, if you live under a rock for some reason, the main inspiration as to why I wanted to record this episode as quickly as I did was because over the weekend, the Oscars was the most talked about thing I've ever seen in months. And if you guys didn't get a chance to see it, essentially, Chris Rock, a well-known comedian, made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith. And his joke made reference to the movie G.I. Jane, which, if you haven't seen that movie, is about a woman in the military. And one of the scenes in that movie was her shaving her head. Will took exception to that joke, and this ultimately led him to slap Chris Rock live on television. And I don't think I've seen such a hostile act in a place that is known to be quite uniform and have such high standards with a room full of celebrities. But the point I wanted to raise from last week's events was the amount of people that gave their attention towards this story. And I'm not just talking about news outlets. I'm talking about how it spread like wildfire over social media, whether it was to clown the whole situation or actually give some light and insight to that situation. It just seemed like there was a lot of focus towards what had happened in a scene that only lasted, 2 minutes out of the entire night. So, essentially, the whole Oscars revolved around that one incident, and anything else that happened outside of that event was completely pushed under the rug. Now, I just wanted to give my 2 cents on the whole situation and the reaction towards the joke from Will Smith. I understand the background of the joke and why it's insensitive and why it was uncalled for and blah blah blah. I get that. But where was this energy towards a man who literally slept with your wife? That, to me, when I saw that reaction, I was like, this is more unnecessary than the joke itself. Because I get it, like, alopecia, if I'm saying that correctly, is a disease which results in hair loss. And Jada Smith openly came out and spoke about why alopecia has had an effect on her, because she values her hair so much to the point where she believes it's a central part of her beauty or whatever, which it's not, but still, I understand why it was so heavy hitting to Jada when he said that joke. So I'm going to make 2 points, one positive, one negative. One positive, well done to you, Will Smith, for defending your wife, right? Because open embarrassment like that, especially considering the severity of the situation, you had every right to react to that. Well, I don't know whether that was the right reaction, but still, you openly expressed your anger and frustration, which you should do. But the thing I don't understand is, you've been in the industry for as long as I can remember. So, you've openly seen comedians criticize other people, if you want to call it that, make fun of them, whatever have you. But as soon as a joke is thrown your way, you retaliate that way. But if a joke was said about somebody else's wife, I think that you would have been the one to laugh at it. And if you've seen the original clip, the one that got posted all over the internet, he laughed at that joke. But I think what happened behind the scenes that nobody really saw when the camera panned away was Jada basically urging Will to react on it. So in my personal opinion, I think it was one of those scenarios where you can throw the punch, but you can't take the hit. If that makes any sense, and if that's a good analogy at all. And the other point I wanted to make is the point I addressed earlier, which is, why would you react so hostile to a joke and not react the same way to an open conversation that you had with your wife about cheating and how she literally slept with another man? So that didn't really make sense to me. And also, just a side note, they are probably one of the worst publicized open relationships that I've ever seen in my life. But we'll get on to that in a minute. So, with that story being said, I hope you can kind of understand the route that this podcast is going into. Because personally, when I saw it, I do understand that yes, drama is entertaining, and for media outlets, it gives them a lot of clicks, it gives them a lot of views. I understand that, but there are so many more important things you could think about. But instead, you want to put all your time and energy into celebrity gossip. And so, just using basic analytic tools, I just want to share with you some of the most recent searches on Google since last Saturday. Now, in terms of official numbers and statistics, I can't give that to you because Google Trends isn't giving it to me. But what I can tell you is the search term Will Smith has gone up to 100% popularity, which by Google Trend standards means that it's reached its maximum capacity in terms of searches. Now, obviously, the hype has kind of died down since the event, and its most highest number of searches was the night of the Oscars, which was the 28th, I believe. But some of the more related searches revolving that incident include Will Smith and Chris Rock, the Oscars, and G.I. Jane. What is alopecia? So, just judging off the popularity of those search terms alone, you can kind of see that everybody really gave their attention to the event that happened at the Oscars. But the thing that doesn't make sense to me is, out of all the things that are happening in the world, people are focusing on the Oscars. Like, let's not get it twisted. COVID is still a thing. The war between Russia and Ukraine is still a thing. But all I've been seeing as of recent are people talking about the altercation. So to me, this kind of outlines a clear problem of what people truly care about. And I feel like in this sort of modern age of social media, all people care about is what's going on outside of their lives, i.e., celebrities' lives. And the main points that I'm going to bring up to emphasize my opinion are: I'm a celebrity, The Only Way is Essex, Love Island, and Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Right? Not to be rude or anything, and I say this with a full amount of respect. Well, not a full amount of respect, but you know what I mean. What in the hell are the Kardashians famous for? If you can tell me that right now in the comments, I'll rest my case. I'll leave it alone. But my goodness gracious, if I haven't heard of more pointless human beings in my life that have been openly publicized and idealized by the general public, and to all my guys out there, you know what Kim Kardashian is famous for. So my question to you is, what do they bring in terms of any actual significance? What do they bring to the table? Apart from celebrity drama. And in the same way I view Love Island, I look at that show like trash television. Because realistically, if you strip away all the drama, it's just a bunch of airheads living together for a couple of weeks in a condo. But yet, people still find that entertaining. And it blows my mind every single time I hear about like any of these trash television shows and how much value it brings to people's everyday lives. And kind of a deduction that I made while like hearing people talk about it is like it's a form of escapism. And people put so much energy towards the specific thing that they enjoy doing in their spare time because it gives them a break from everyday life, which is cool. But my God, if you put the energy into something else apart from that crappy ass TV show that you're watching, you know how much better in terms of quality of life you could be getting. And I'm sounding like a real like Buddhist monk or something like that, but like I genuinely stay away from those shows because I do not see the point in them. And just briefly going back on the whole Will Smith and Jada situation regarding their family, and how I said it's one of the worst publicized relationships in the world. People blew up social media when the news about August Alsina and Jada Pinkett came out, and this whole entanglement fiasco happened. People loved it. And the thing I didn't really get is like, that happens on a regular basis. And I know that's like super messed up to say, but like cheating and wrongdoing, they happen on an everyday basis. But because it's a celebrity, that attention automatically gets like amplified because of their social status or whatever the case may be. So yeah, it's just kind of a weird time to be living in the sense that we are so endorsed in other people's lives that we actually forget that they are just normal people. And that is part of the reason why Will Smith reacted that way, because he is just a normal human being. But we don't see that because he is Mike Lowrey, he's Agent J, he's the Fresh Prince. Like, it's just kind of weird that we put celebrities on this kind of pedestal when we all bleed the same, bro. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I'm probably gonna be a hypocrite because if I see my favorite celebrity out on the street, of course I'm gonna go manic. But that's just like one of the biggest human flaws that I've recognized, but I still cannot fix because I know that that will be my reaction. So again, this is not to put any judgment on anybody who cares about celebrity gossip or whatever the case may be, but it's just acknowledging the fact that this is one of the biggest flaws in human development. Caring too much is one of the biggest flaws in human development. But moving on to point number 2 on caring too much about the wrong things. My second point is caring too much about what people think. Now, this is a very common topic that's been spoken about time and time again on social media, in motivational talks and stuff like that. So I wanted to give my 2 cents on it as well. And in my opinion, it is easier said than done. Like the amount of podcasts or TED Talks or whatever the case may be of people encouraging others to not care about other people's opinions. They say it as simplistically as, don't pay any attention to it, focus on yourself, and blah de blah de blah. But to me, in the environment that we're living in, with the pressures that we are living in, it is so much harder to turn away from something like that when you compare it to previous years. And a large part of that to me is the involvement that social media plays in people's everyday lives. And if you've been a listener of mine since 2017, back to when I first started the original podcast, you kind of know what my opinions are on social media. And if you haven't listened to that episode, I'll be sure to link it in the description below. But the reason why I think it is really hard to ignore what people think. It's just on the simple fact that everybody wants validation. Everybody wants to feel accepted in some way because it somehow proves that you are doing something good and something right. So when people are at odds of that, it can kind of conflict in your brain about whether what you are doing or what you are saying or how you are acting is the right thing, if that makes sense. But to me, what I've had to learn over the years, and what probably a lot of people have been saying, is the fact that there aren't always going to be yes men. And a part of growing up and maturing is the fact that you have to learn how to take criticisms, however biased or unreasonable they may be. You have to learn how to take that on the chin and be the bigger person in that scenario, because it proves that you are capable of handling it. Because in my opinion, all that drama, negative talk, whether it's directed towards you or you are the one directing it towards somebody else, is one of the biggest signs to me of immaturity. Like, personally, I mean, I'm 22, like, I'm still young, but I have this kind of old man's mentality where I am so tired of nonsense, and I've been tired of nonsense, that every time drama comes in my way, I'm just like, nah, I don't want that. And don't get me wrong, this is not some kind of holier than thou type of talk that I'm trying to give you. But yeah, I'm just trying to explain how I lived from quite a young age, really. Like, I don't know, I've just never had the time or the patience, let's say, to really entertain situations that have happened in my life that are considered drama worthy. So in a sense, I've kind of cleansed myself of all the negative situations that could have occurred had I reacted to the moment. But one of my main deductions that I took away after seeing and even experiencing that time and time again was just the fact that, look, if they're talking about you, they're thinking about you. So either way, it's a win-win situation for you, because they are spending all their time and their energy on you. And just like I mentioned in, point one, who does that? Who spends their time and energy towards one person or people per se? And the answer is fans. It's as simple as that. That's my analogy. Every time a dramatic situation comes my way, I'm just like, look, talk about me all you want. And to me, I don't think I've ever been personally affected by what people say, because my tolerance level of insults is quite high. So to me, the only way I feel like I would ever take something personally is if it, one, was a stretch too far, like going into the personal realms, or two, if it affected somebody that was never involved in the drama in the first place. So if they start talking about family members or close friends of mine, that's when I get offended. But chat rubbish about me all you like, because if you think I'm gonna bat an eye at you, like, don't hold your breath. So yeah, my one piece of advice with people struggling with quite a major issue in today's society is like, look, they are just fans. They want the attention, don't give it to them, and then they will go away. Because at the end of the day, that's what most people require, is attention. Whether it's from significant others, family members, or people that they dislike. They just want to be seen and recognized. But adding on to that point, the concept of hating on somebody else is one of the most complicated things for me to wrap my head around, because I still do it. I'm going to hold my hands up high and say, like, yes, I still openly judge people. I chat a lot of rubbish. I'm not exactly the cleanest mouth person when talking about people that bother me. So I'll openly come out and say it. But in my honest opinion, if you find a criticism offensive, that to me is a if the shoe fits, wear it scenario. And address me personally on it. If you want to come and chat to me about my opinions and how it has affected you, we can talk about that. Because if you feel that way, it is most likely addressed towards you. And that's just how it is. And again, you don't even have to take my opinions on board with you. Because everything I just said beforehand about people talking ill on your name and how you should pay no attention to it because it's attention seeking, see it that way if you want. But the one reason why I will state that people talking about you in a negative light is somewhat a positive thing is the fact that it could point out flaws to you that you would never really recognize if you had a circle of people who just openly showed you support and openly fed you white lies. Sometimes you need the realistic criticism to hit you in the face to be like, okay, I get where they're coming from. And I can change that. But yeah, I will openly admit that my actions and my words to certain people have been regarded as insensitive and unempathetic. I get it. And it is just something that I need to work on to actually reflect on my own flaws rather than addressing everybody else's. Because at the end of the day, everybody has a problem and everybody has to deal with their own quote-unquote demons. So yeah, that will get better and hopefully my aggressive tone towards people will slowly fade. But right now there's a lot to cringe at. And that's another topic for another day. But that's going to wrap up the episode here. I do hope you enjoyed this one. I know it was kind of a spiral of thoughts, like I told you in the beginning of the episode. But you can kind of see how they all allude to one thing, which is caring too much about the wrong things. So with that being said, if you did enjoy this episode, please be sure to hit me up in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts and opinions on what I said. Was I right? Was I wrong? Just let me know. Again, like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, criticism is welcome. Because to me, that's only a sign of further needing to improve. But Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also be sure to hit the little bell icon to be notified about when every new podcast video gets released. But until we speak again, take care and goodbye.